only the very largest mechs and vehicles can carry a C3 master. Also, notably, clans don't use them. But what exactly is a C3 network anyway? And what's the difference between the master slave and the improved? Well, to put it shortly, a C3 network allows you to use the shortest distance from any of your mechs or vehicles instead of the actual distance that you're using for targeting distance purposes. The Draconis Combine had the first C3 networks during the early clan invasions, so you could, in theory, use them in the 3050 era, but they're usually more frequently found in the 3075 type age. Of important note is that there is a battle master that has a twin master on board. There is also a stock partisan that has a twin master. It's called the company command. Then there's also a lance command version that has only one. Also, during the Jihad era, Comstar breakaway Blakists created the improved C3, which only takes up 2 tons and 2 slots. The improved system is not compatible with the standard system and has a 6-unit limit, but every unit is a master and a slave and is independent. There's also a miniaturized emergency master. In case the mech that has the master and it gets blown away, you can activate that. But the emergency master only lasts like 6 game turns, so it's not really that great. The boosted master defeats like Guardian ECMs and things like that, which is great. However, I think if you just put it out of Karnov and keep it out of range, it's better. Now, on the Sarna wiki, you can find a list of mechs that have the C3 master, and you'll find that it is kind of a little bit skimpy. So it's a fairly disappointing list. So you will end up being forced to customize. But that's again why I suggest just putting it on a Karnov. It gets rid of all the difficulties of customizing and choosing what you want to give up and just have a dedicated cheap vehicle. Another advantage of just putting it on the Karnov is that the C3 Master also has a 15 range tag built into it as part of it. So that way you can actually use your Karnov as a combat vehicle even though it doesn't do any damage. The C3 Slave is a 1-slot, 1-ton item that allows a mech or vehicle to talk to the master, and any master or slave can be used as the range determiner for a target. There's also boosted slaves that bypass Guardian and ECM suites, which might be worthy. However, if you use boosted slaves, you also have to use a boosted master, and it's kind of costly space-wise and weight-wise. Now let's talk about the improved C3 system. Each unit, there's no longer masters and slaves. Instead, you just have up to 6 units. Each unit is 2 tons and 2 slots, though, so more than a slave, but less than a master. The biggest difference between the C3I or the IC3 versus the standard master-slave setup, other than the size of the different units, is that the standard master-slave system can expand up to a full company of 12 mechs, whereas the improved C3 system can only support 6. But you could just have 2 groups of 6 improved C3s that don't talk to each other, so it's like half and half to have a full company. Now, I have actually tried out lance on lance and even company on company in my sims, both with and without C3 networks. And my conclusion so far is that In the 3070s era, you basically must have a C3 network. Otherwise, you will be defeated by a set of mechs that's very similar to yours that just has a C3 network installed and loses some armor or heat sinks or some medium lasers as a price. And you can imagine something like the Demolisher. It pretty much needs a C3 slave and preferably also has a Guardian ECM, although a C3 slave is sufficient. The reason you want the ECM is because the opponent's mech or vehicle, which will be at point blank range to your Demolisher that's going up there, is going to basically provide point blank targeting range for all the range support that's nearby, and your Demolisher will go bye-bye almost instantly. For ECM, you can actually just put a Guardian and perhaps like 3 tags on another Karnov as a dedicated ECM, and the tags just give it something to do, maybe point one out the left side, one out the right side, and one out the front or something. This way, you move your Karnov with the ECM on it, on top of whatever you're trying to kill, or perhaps on top of the master inside the opponent's side, and then you basically win. There is also like a crappy vehicle that's called like the Nightshade or something that's got an ECM built in. But the problem is it also has weapons, and that increases its battle value. So you're better off just having the Karnov. If anyone has any interesting strategies or variants to use for either ECMs or for the C3 networks, please put them into the comments because this would be interesting to share.